We don't know where we're going to be tomorrow. Are you okay with that? We could be in any one of three places.
Yeah.
It's day 7 and we are planning on a landfall tomorrow, but we're not sure where. We've got 3 options right now. The initial option was Flying Fish Marina on the southeast side of Long Island. That would involve us stalling around midnight and sailing at about 3 knots, keeping the boat speed low. So we arrive there in the morning. It's probably not our preferred option. We'd rather keep proceeding north to Stella Maris, which is on the north end of Long Island, about another 60 miles further on. But we'd have to round Cape Santa Maria, and our arrival time across the banks would put us there in the late afternoon, which is not ideal if we want to be able to see any hazards in the water. At the moment it's totally touch and go on either of those 2 options. If we can keep a boat speed of around 5.5 knots all night, then Stella Maris is definitely on the table. If this wind dies out, then we'll probably end up just stalling around the south end of Long Island and popping into Flying Fish. But there's a third option to go into Rum Cay towards the north end of Long Island, and although there's no customs and immigration clearance there, apparently it was wiped out in the last hurricane. So such are the vagaries of the weather and navigation. So it's sort of 11th hour, 3 options. We don't know where we're going to be tomorrow. Some things haven't changed much in 500 years. Long Island was Christopher Columbus's 3rd stop in the Caribbean, after San Salvador and Rum Cay. He mistakenly thought he had arrived in Southeast Asia, or the East Indies as it was known. It's an insight into how little was known about the size of the world. He had travelled only 4,000 miles. It was another 30 years before Magellan's voyage established the actual sailing distance, which is some 5 times greater. On Luckyfish we were discussing navigation problems of a more contemporary nature. What are you reading, Zaya? Learning about the Bahamas. You've got the Waterwise guide. Okay. It's been a tough book to get into. That's the first Waterways guide we've seen, and it seems to start off at a level where they've been going 40 years and all their readers understand their way of doing things. But to be honest, I found it really difficult as a newbie beginning to understand that book. A lot of the maps don't have the place names that are referred to in the text, which I think is an absolute flaw in any guidebook. It's full of advertising, full of self-promotion, and really it's losing sight of newbies like us who just want the basics. Where to get weather forecasts easily, entrances and exits from harbours, all the salient information should be at your fingertips in a good guidebook. So yeah, a little bit disappointed with the Waterways guide, but perhaps once we get to know it better, we will grow to love it. Our recommendation for cruising guides to the Bahamas are the books by Stephen Pavlivdes and the Explorer charts, available in hard copy and digital for your chart plotter. Coral Sea Cruising. Lovely flat seas in behind the reef of Turks and Caicos. Hard to believe it's the North Atlantic, but so pleasant to be here on this beautiful flat sea. Good stiff wind of 17 knots, blowing us exactly where we want to go.
Any fish?
Well, it's 1:30 in the morning on the 7th night out, and as luck would have it, the wind did pipe up this evening. It got up to 17, 18 knots and held that for a good 5 or 6 hours just after the sunset. So we've managed to make some good speeds, sitting at about 6 or 7 knots, sometimes more. and that's allowed us to continue on towards Cape Santa Maria and arrive at Stella Maris in the morning or sometime tomorrow. Winds dropped back to around 10 to 13 knots at the moment. Boat's still going along very nicely at 5 to 6 knots, but there's probably the largest ship we've encountered so far coming up on our port side in about an hour. It's a 335 metre long cargo ship bound for New York, and at 335 metres long it's virtually like a small island, and you do have to make a decision about whether you're going to pass in front or behind these things. This one at the moment looks like our closest point of approach will be around a mile or so. However, with the vagaries of the wind and the fact that we're running wing and wing with the foresail and the main at the moment, we're rather restricted in our manoeuvrability, and we don't have any control over our speed. That's purely up to the wind. So monitoring that one pretty closely, and we will see in about 30 minutes or so what decision we'll make. At the moment it looks like we'll pass in front, which isn't ideal, and we're also down below our ley line for Cape Santa Maria, so probably we'll just jibe the main across, and that'll have us with both sails set on the starboard side. The boat will be on port tack and allow us to head up into the wind and either stall the boat, let him pass, or simply sail by his stern. Looking forward to arriving in the turquoise waters of the Bahamas tomorrow, after Cape Santa Maria, down western tip of Long Island and then back east again across the banks, as they call them, these shallow reef flats with coral bommies and rocks and so forth. Promises to be a really interesting morning, and Zaya making noises while she's sleeping. I better make sure she's okay. Anyway, we'll sign off now. Chat soon. Good morning. How good is this? Finally off Cape Santa Maria. We're off the northern tip of Long Island after what? Yeah, about an hour away, and then a bit of a beat down the other side. Probably end up motoring. We'll see what the conditions look like, and then turn in across the banks, come back towards where we are now, on the other side of the island. So honey, what can you tell us about our pod? It's looking very homey. After a week at sea, it develops quite a comfortable feel. All the things you need are all close at hand. In fact, you barely have to move your feet to reach anything. It's very convenient. Chart plotter, sunscreen.
Shorts.
Oh, the shorts are always, yeah, women's things hanging from various parts, which is very nice. Safety harnesses on hand. Set a pair of knickers on a winch, or a candlestick holder, as Simon would call them. We actually had a guy come on the boat and sit in the pod and look at our 4 winches and say that they were really pretty candlestick holders. Is that what they're for? He didn't have a lot of boating background. It's probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard anyone say about a boat. He was very innocent, and he was fine with his own lack of knowledge about boats. Yay! along a channel at the moment, sort of a channel. Most where we're going, the marina's virtually behind us now, but we're having to go around Coral Cove where the water's only a metre deep, so we can't even squeeze through. Do you think it's going to be a nice place to stop, or? Looks really peculiar, doesn't it? Tiny little entry. Well, we chatted to them on the radio and they seem to think they've got some place for us to stop. We'll see. Came up from South Africa. We sailed across the Atlantic on that boat, and so we sort of share our journey with people who are interested. Our mission to make it to the Hui in Florida was off to a good start. 1,237 miles since leaving Grenada in 7 days, 20 hours at an average speed of 6.6 knots. Yeah. But we were unclear about the next leg. Thanks a lot. A tricky passage between the reefs to Georgetown. We needed to find some sailors. Here we are at the Stella Maris Resort. On the plus side, we still haven't cleared in, so they're pretty casual about immigration and customs. That's a plus. Yeah, so are you a collector?
Well, I left 8 of them.
Really?
I had 8, but we're moving down here. And so I had to rehome some of them because I couldn't bring them all.
That's fantastic.
So
I love it, I love it. On the negative side, it probably wasn't the most ideal place to begin an exhumers cruise. If you want to gather information about where to go, we bombed out on 2 counts. 1, there's no sailors here, and 2, the internet doesn't work. So as far as getting some local knowledge goes, I don't know, we're going to have to push on to the next port and hopefully find some other boaties there who know the area. We're going to stay in the marina tonight, push on tomorrow to probably Georgetown. We'll see. Are you enjoying Stella Maris?
Oh yeah, very much after the journey.
It's a welcome break, isn't it?
Yeah, welcome break.
Great.
We're gonna go out and meet our friends at the bar.
Yeah, we're going to the bar or the beach?
Yeah, bar, because that
Good,
bar
good answer.
a lot of kids.
Ah, yeah. No, we don't want that. No.
Want to go there?
Cool.
We want to go to that boat one.
The bar it is.
What are you up to?
Just taking a record of our last couple of days, time of arrival, weather conditions, sort of decisions we had to make along the way in order to get in here on time. It's worked out very well.
Before you forget them all,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
get the
Yeah,
names.
that's the thing, when you're having these experiences washing by, it doesn't take too many days before it all becomes a blur.
Yeah. Cheers.
Good. The bar with no barman. Good, the pub with no beer. The bar with no barman.
When you drink, it's tension.
Yeah. I can feel the alcohol. It's great. But give me one.
I just don't want
Yeah, can you believe that? This is happy hour and this is no barman, this is unhappy hour. With landfall, it was time to liberate Lizard. We chose nighttime to give him the best chance. After catching him in a towel, he leapt out as I was passing it to Zaya. For a heart-stopping few seconds, he scampered across the aft deck before plunging straight into the water and straight into the mouth of a lurking fish. It was heartbreaking, and we thought about him for months after. So I started this ode to Lizard. But I'm no poet, so fair warning. Ode to Lizard. Like your relative, Jonathan Livingston, you opened your eyes to live, toes clinging tightly till Luckyfish gets away. You became a stowaway, but your spirit was too strong, made a dash for Island Long. Well, it went from ode to limerick a bit there at the end.
Yeah, it definitely needs some work. Can any of you help? Leave your suggestions in the comments. Next week on Luckyfish, I do some surgery on Stuart. We navigate a tricky passage, arrive in Georgetown, and run into engine problems.